Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Hey there, what if there was one thing that you could do or avoid to ensure that you have healthy longevity? We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about what is the thing that you need to make sure that you're doing in order to make sure that you are keeping yourself protected, safe from harmful chemicals and toxins that are out there. So this is another episode of the Happy Healthy Life podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the Happy Healthy Guys.
Let's do this.
Yes.
All right. We're going to answer questions today. You guys have been sending us your questions. We love getting questions from you. If you do have a question, you can be able to ask that question at the H2 Life. That's the H, the number 2 Life on Instagram. We get all those questions there, and then we answer them live here on the podcast. So we are ready for another fantastic episode of the Happy Healthy Life. Dr. Randy, how are you doing
And we
today?
could talk forever. I'm doing great, man. A lot to unpack, a lot of things going on. And listen, we're so glad to have you tuning in. We're going to jump right in here. Let's just get right to the meat of it, man. Let's keep this episode short, brief, and to the point, if that's even possible, because I'm excited about. These are basic things we're going to talk about, but remember, the basics really are where you get the biggest bang for your buck. It's kind of like, the question we got the other day when the person was asking, and I don't know if this person's listening right now, but hopefully they are, about if it was okay to do earthing if you're near any power cords or buried under the soil.
Well, they actually called it grounding.
Grounding versus earthing. But anyway, the point was, I'm like, well, I love the question, but a lot of times the basics are, don't worry about what's underneath the ground that you're standing on more than what's going into your body and the chemicals you're putting on your skin and living and practicing in gratitude. So all that to be said, where do you want to go with this?
Well, let's answer that question. So the question about even the earthing, if you've ever wondered about that or wonder what that is,
what the heck is that?
Yeah, that's getting yourself connected to the ground. And we love, our favorite place to do some earthing is at the beach, in the water, on the sand, just the minerals, just the spiritual aspect of it, the connection with the ground, all of the things with that, which is why we're doing our next retreat in Tulum, Mexico. That is going to be the 23rd through the 27th of October. There are still a couple of spots left. If you want those spots, definitely look at the show notes. We're going to put the link in there to be able to get registered for that. If you're in our group, we've got a couple spots left. If you want to get in for that, because I know there are a couple of rooms that are left for that. It's going to be amazing. So earthing and over power lines. It's probably not the best idea that you are going to get some leakage of the benefits that you should be getting from it. So if you know consciously that you're standing over a power line, move.
Probably not the smartest thing.
Not the smartest thing, but there's power lines everywhere, so it's you can't avoid it.
Well, and listen, voltage is no joke. Even you can go back and reference it on your own, but you can even go back to the Spanish flu, the early 1900s. And although they blamed it on a killer virus, really it was a voltage issue. And there's other factors involved in people getting sick, but your electrical charge, your polarity, remember, we're just a bunch of, 80 trillion cells all vibrating at a certain frequency. Yep. So when you're around certain voltage, certain around EMS, especially the new 5G, around power lines, really the voltage is key. This is why earthing is so powerful, because you provide your body those negative ions from the earth to help protect your cells and to prevent the leakage or the entrance of calcium ions into the cell, past the cell membranes into the cell, causing superoxide, peroxynitrite, basically tons of oxidative stress, which make you sick. So this is a simple thing, but an important thing, and it doesn't cost you any money, because all you got to do is walk outside, get those pretty feet, whether you had a pedicure or not, get those feet on the ground, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. We walk around all day long with rubber-soled shoes. We're no longer connected to the ground and to the earth. And this is a simple thing to do, which also is a huge benefit to mitochondrial health and integrity, which we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why anytime I work out now, I always wear grounding socks. We met that gal at that biohacking conference, got some grounding socks. I wear them all the time because of the rubber-soled shoes. So that's something that you could do. And we'll put a link to her stuff
work out
in the show notes. So we'll work out barefoot.
Get outside.
I don't trust myself with dropping a weight on my foot. I guess it really doesn't matter if you have on shoes, but still.
I'll go to the gym in sandals, and half the time they'll make me put shoes on. But I'll try to like get sandals into the gym, and then I'll just walk around barefoot. But yeah,
perfect.
I'll get kicked out of the gym on occasion. Okay. Gardening barefoot. That's a great one, Sharon. Yeah, get your feet on the ground.
All right, let's get into the questions. Here's one of the questions that we get this question all the time. In fact, I was at the grocery store yesterday and thinking about this very thing because I was in the oil aisle. So there I am in the oil aisle, and then you've got people that are walking and they're completely just uneducated, unconscious, not knowing what in the world is going on. And number one is we already talk about the seed oils, avoid the seed oils. And you know that they're seed oils because that whole entire section of the grocery aisle is the same exact color, which is not the actual color of oil to begin with. That lets you know that it's fake. Stay away from those seed oils.
What color is that?
That would be like a pea yellow color.
Acetamol.
Yes, bad oil. Bad oil.
Yeah.
So, okay. So why is it, and this is the question that we get, why is it that you cannot cook or should avoid cooking food in avocado oil, grapeseed oil, or olive oil?
Yeah, great question. We do get this question a lot. And the reason we get this question is it's always prefaced with, well, these oils, like especially avocado oil, has a very high smoke point, which sounds good on the surface because if you can heat it up to 300, 400, 500 degrees before it smokes, it must be a healthy oil. Now, granted, you don't want to be cooking an oil that's smoking, but what's more important than the smoke point, it's the peroxidation index. So it's the volatility of the oil. And remember, the three things that break down an oil or a fat and make it produce damaging stress, oxidative stress to the body is heat, which we just talked about, but it's also light and oxygen. And so we talk about fats, and of course, the world's healthiest fat is SCT oil, hands down. If you know, you know. But the reason it is because animal-based fats, which SCT oil is a saturated fatty acid. So you've got saturated fats. This is obviously very general, but just three main groups: saturated fats, you've got monounsaturated fats, and you have polyunsaturated fats, which we know that the seed oils are the polyunsaturated fats called PUFA, P-U-F-A, the most volatile. So the more stable a fat is under heat, light, and oxygen, the less oxidative stress and less mitochondrial damage occurs at a tissue level. This is why cooking in lard, cooking in tallow, grass-fed butter, SCT oil, even a coconut oil, if you're looking for something non-animal based, these are saturated fatty acids. They do have a high smoke point, but they have a very, very low peroxidation rate. So they're not breaking down, causing DNA damage, not causing tissue damage, not producing tons of free radicals or oxidative stress. So this is very, very important. It's all about the bonds. When you've got multiple double bonds, like a monounsaturated or even a polyunsaturated, then you're going to get in big trouble. So this is why you do not want to be cooking in avocado oil, because it may have a high smoke point, but it peroxidizes very, very easily. And remember, most avocado oil has been cut with seed oil. There's a reason why it's so cheap. A lot of times people will ask, well, why is that so expensive? Maybe the better question is, why is it so cheap? Because if it's cheap, doesn't always make it what's best for you. Typically, the opposite of that is true. Grapeseed oil, high smoke point, but grapeseed oil is one of the highest oils in linoleic acid, that omega-6 polyunsaturated 18 carbon chain fatty acid, which we know has a 680-day half-life. So it's already been bleached, deodorized, it's rancid, it's been colored preserved. It is full of damaging fats. Just because it doesn't smoke until a higher temperature does not make it healthy. It is a full-blown poof. It's dangerous. And then olive oil. Listen, guys, the French paradox, it is not olive oil. It is butter. And there is a reason, because of the saturated fatty acid content and the low peroxidation rate. Olive oil should never be heated. It is unstable under heat, light, and oxygen. It is a monounsaturated fat. And there's a lot of research out there now showing that even monounsaturated fats, like an olive oil, can actually slow the metabolic rate. I don't know about you. The last time we were in Italy, we saw a few more heavy people than probably should have seen. And they're cooking everything in olive oil. So I would say be careful. And just like avocado oil, a lot of this olive oil is cut with seed oil because it's cheap. So unless you're sourcing something that's pristine, quality, you know the source, you know the batch number, you know all of the, was it cold pressed? You're really rolling the dice. It doesn't make any sense. So long story, even longer, don't cook in avocado oil. It's not about the smoke point. It's about peroxidation, and peroxidation is where you're creating oxidative stress and free radical damage to your mitochondria, your DNA, and your tissues.
You know, one of the things that we did notice, even in Spain and or even in Italy, is they use olive oil way more as a condiment than it is really cooking.
Yeah.
They're putting it on, you know, your food after you've already eaten it, which is delicious, tastes fantastic. I love it. I love it that way. And I can also remember a time when, you know, all of the talk about the grapeseed oil having the higher smoke point.
Yeah.
In cooking with that, in using it, I think I was cooking some chicken in it, and it just, even when the chicken was done, just tasted weird. That right there shows you that, yeah, it was not stable and had an odd taste like that just didn't even taste like anything real.
No, it's even not, even if you got it fresh pressed, it's not fresh pressed. It's gone through a process, usually using a solvent, some type of a chemical, maybe even an hexane, which is very metabolically damaging, toxic to the human body. The high heat that it even goes through to be manufactured, which is already breaking down the oil. It's going to go rancid very, very quickly. You just don't want to be eating anything. And that one gives it away. Don't focus on the grape, focus on the seed.
Exactly.
It tells you right there, this is a seed oil, and seeds have high amounts of polyunsaturated fatty acids, just like flaxseed oil, linseed oil. Anything that says seed is going to be high in PUFA, high peroxidation, high oxidative stress. And listen, it's great if you want to age very quickly and have lots of wrinkles and a lot of joint inflammation and be at higher risk for cancer. But it is not good if you're trying to, beat the clock, live your best life, have a strong metabolism, and age beautifully, which is the goal and should be the normal.
Okay, next question. What is metabolic flexibility? Anytime we speak anywhere, we always talk about metabolic flexibility. People, understand what metabolism is, but they don't know what metabolic flexibility is. Dr. Randy, how would you answer that question? What is metabolic flexibility?
Very simply, it's the body's ability to burn fat or glucose for fuel, right? If you don't have fuel, if your mitochondria are not creating energy through the electron transport chain, you are going to die. It is a fact of life. So energy is critical, and your body uses fat or it uses glucose to make energy in the body. Metabolic flexibility, though, is very rare in today's day and age. And the reason we know this, number one, besides just looking around, what's the latest study shows that almost 94 to maybe 95% of Americans aren't metabolically healthy. They don't have the ability to burn fat. They don't have the ability to burn carbs or glucose. And remember, being metabolically flexible doesn't mean you never get to eat carbs again. Correct. Or that you can't use carbs for energy. A keto diet may help you lose weight, but you're actually going to have less metabolic flexibility. And you already know it because you go on a keto diet, you lose 20 pounds, and you eat a banana and you gain 3 pounds the next day because your body can't even use glucose. And remember, guys, Glucose is essential to the human body. Obviously, your brain needs it primarily. You have to have glucose. You have to have the ability to make it. Your body can make it, but you should be able to eat it. And by eating it, you can put your body into more of an abundant state, a less stressed state. And if you never eat carbs, man, the cortisol is going to jack through the roof, high stress state. And nobody lives very long with a high quality of life when you're in a constant state of stress. I would say metabolic flexibility is a misunderstood term because most people think metabolic flexibility means not ever eating carbohydrates. That is not metabolic flexibility.
No, that's a question that we get is when we start talking to people, they're like, oh, you guys are recommending a low carb diet. That's not what it is, even a little bit. In fact, we want you to put the carbohydrates in there because your body does have different sources of fuel, kind of like if you've got, everybody's seen an electric car. These days, it also runs on gas, and the car that you get to the stoplight and the car turns off because it's using the electricity and not the gas.
Right.
Well, that means because it's got fuel flexibility or energy flexibility as far as what it's using in order to be able to make that car go. Your body, like you said, can use glucose in order to be able to make it go. It can use fat to be able to make it go. In fact, the fat is going to burn longer. It's going to burn hotter. That's when you actually have that euphoric, that really good feeling when your body is able to burn that fat for fuel and not just a strictly glucose or sugar burner, which is where I'd say, like I said, over 95% of people these days are that sugar burner. They think that they're fat burners because they just stop eating sugar for like 2 weeks. But they don't have that metabolic flexibility. And like you said, as soon as they put that sugar back in, and it typically says those 2 weeks because they want to look good in their wedding dress, or they want to look good because they're going to the beach, they want to look good in their swimsuit, whatever it is, they just stop it for temporarily. And then as soon as that vacation is over, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And so the winter coat is put back on.
Yeah, the low carb world, the high fat, low carb dieting, the ketos, the carnivores, and nobody's saying that you can't get some benefit by doing that in the short term. The problem is it's going to actually make you crave carbs and sugar more because your body has to have it. And if you're constantly having to make it, which your body can do, but the way it does it is called gluconeogenesis. Your body will actually break down muscle tissue. It'll break down collagen, elastin, connective tissue, muscle. You'll shred your muscle, raise cortisol, the stress hormone, in order to make glucose because you need those amino acids. So you're losing muscle if you're constantly in a state of having to make your own glucose without ever eating it. Carbs are not the enemy. One of the most beautiful ways to increase metabolic flexibility, and we talk about this all the time, is eating the most amount of nutrient-dense, real food nutrition that gets mostly digested before it gets into your colon. If you're eating real food, nutrient-dense food, easily digestible food, where most of the food is not sitting in your small intestine and then ending up in the colon undigested, where you're creating inflammation and endotoxin, eating real nutrient-dense foods is going to be absorbed and you're going to get more bang for your buck. And so you're able to eat those carbohydrates. So we talk about being careful when you are eating certain carbohydrates. A lot of carbohydrates have a ton of anti-nutrients. If you're eating a bunch of potatoes with the skin on and you're not preparing them properly, tons of lectins. Lectins destroy the gut, can get lots of resistant starch into the colon that could be causing inflammation. Eating really ripe fruit is one of our favorite carbohydrates because your body can use it. And don't be scared of fresh squeezed orange juice. All right, it killed my great-grandmother at 100 years old on no medication, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And the research shows there really isn't that much difference in a glucose jump, whether you're eating a whole orange juice or eating an orange or drinking the juice. As long as it's fresh, it hasn't been pasteurized, and it's easy to digest because your body's going to use those calories very easily. So I would say all this, you cannot get carb adapted unless you eat carbohydrates. And fats and carbs will compete for those receptor sites in your cells to create energy in the mitochondria. So the way we describe it, this will help you, give you something practical here to do. If you've ever seen a seesaw, right? You got one person on the other end, one person on the other end. Maybe somebody's a little bit heavier, stronger. and they can tilt you up or
That
down.
was me showing up.
Right.
Yeah,
and I was the guy who
I
was getting in the air.
Yeah, I always kept the other dude suspended in midair.
Yeah, you were the jerk in
I was
elementary
that guy.
school.
It was great.
But the way you want to think about it is the pivot point where I guess the seesaw or the plank is positioned is in the center. That center point, that is your protein. All right. Protein is for structure. You shouldn't be breaking it down to have to use it for energy. That's a stressful place for the body to be in. So you've got your structure, you've got your protein. Whether you're eating 2-3 times a day or once a day, whatever you're doing, eating when you're hungry, make sure you're getting a quality source of ruminant-based animal protein. And then the seesaw is the carbs or the fat. So if you're eating more fat with your protein, eat less carbohydrate because they compete for the electron transport chain in the mitochondria to create energy. If you're eating less fat, then eat more carbohydrate. These are your energy centers of fat. Quality counts. Eat more when you eat less of the other. Protein really doesn't change. Just kind of seesaw your fat and your carbs based on how you feel, your energy levels, and kind of thinking in the back of your mind. You're not counting calories. You're not counting macros. You're just thinking about if I'm going to eat a ton of fat, probably will eat less carb now. And I'm going to eat more carbohydrate, like maybe after a high intensity training workout or some resistance training. When your muscles are ripe to take up all that glucose, maybe that's a lower fat meal, moderate protein, and higher on the carbohydrate. Hopefully that helps. Think about the seesaw when you're eating. Proteins are constant. Eat for nutrition, eat real nutrients, fat and carbs for energy, and seesaw those back and forth based off time of day or what your goal is with your health. Hopefully that helps.
It helps tremendously. Yeah, I'm going to be thinking about seesaws and I want to eat.
Oh, man.
Okay. So here's this is a good question right here. It's probably time for our last question. And we'll answer more questions when we get on with you guys again for the next podcast. We're actually going to be recording a really cool podcast that I think you guys are really going to love with a special guest next week. We'll let you know who that is coming up here.
We actually have two amazing coming up pretty soon too. You talking about the one that was supposed to happen tomorrow?
That is the one that I'm talking about. That's one of them.
And then the other one coming up, the our good friend, I knew a medical doctor that we met, who is one of the biggest disruptors during the COVID scamdemic and the government redistribution of wealth. When all that was taking place and they locked us down, this was a doctor standing up and calling out the system. So we're going to bring him on. You guys are going to enjoy that episode.
Absolutely. All right. So last question is this. If there was one thing, this is a loaded question. This might take too long. Let's do the next question. I think that
which one do you want to skip over?
And we'll answer this on the next podcast. If there was one thing that you were going to do for healthy longevity, what would it be? There's a lot of parts to this.
That's true. It's a lot to unpack.
Lots to unpack. Okay. Where is the one place that you need to be aware of or avoid when it comes to environmental toxins? And so that's, I think it's one place everywhere. Because it is everywhere. No matter where it is you go, and just to understand this, no matter where you're at, you are going to be around environmental toxins. There's over 90,000 different chemical toxins that we're around on a daily basis. Yeah, one of the listeners, Sharon, says, haha, the doctor's office in the hospital. You are absolutely correct. There's a reason why people get sick when they're actually in the hospital. But, there's toxins all around us. If there was going to be one place, Dr. Randy, that you would want to avoid or something that you would want to avoid, where would that be?
God, it's a tough question because it really is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. There's over 80,000 chemicals that have been approved that we could be exposed to, over 10,000 in our food supply. So I'd go a few places. Number one, start with your food, right? Make sure you're eating, real food. Simply eat real food. Stop eating fake processed food. Processed food is going to be just riddled with chemicals and preservatives. We call these obesogens. These are things that actually destroy your metabolic profile and make you sick. Processed food, processed sugar. Obviously, seed oil. There's zero reason to eat any industrial seed oil ever again at this point. Animal fats taste better. So you may be getting them in the restaurants is a common place because all restaurants cooking this stuff. You have to be very diligent there. But another place that you might be getting chemicals, and it's interesting because this is something that I changed in my life really, even before I got sick with the diagnosis with cancer, I've been working on this for probably 25 years, but starting to look at the things that I'm putting on my body and the things that are in my home. I just recently had it was a heartbreaking conversation with a lady that was referred over to us, mother of four. She was originally diagnosed with, I believe, cervical cancer. Of course, they did their thing, the drugs, the chemo, the radiation, and then within, I think, less than a year, the cancer moved into her lymphatic chain, and now it's into her bone. And they're basically telling her, now it's time to do more chemo, more of the same. So she's completely bankrupt. They had to drain their 401k. They lost all their money. It goes to the point of, if you can't afford to be healthy, there's no way in the world you can afford to be sick. The number one cause of bankruptcy is losing your health. It is your greatest asset. Wasn't the time to have that conversation with her because she already knew that, but just broken. And one of the things I told her she needs to be considering, because all cancer really has an estrogenic chemical component, is what are you putting on your skin? She's very diligent with what she eats. When we started going through that, you start looking at the lotions, the makeups, any makeups that are waterproof, lipsticks, mascaras, these have high concentrations of PFOAs. These are forever type chemicals, these phthalates, these BPAs, BPSs that are literally in all non-stick waterproof surfaces. These chemicals, once you put them on your skin, they get directly into your bloodstream. What do you shower with? What type of soap are you using? What type of shampoo? What type of conditioner? I started making these changes years ago, replacing all of the fake commercial products with natural products. And it was overwhelming at first, but after making a change here or there over the last 20, 25 years, I've really decluttered my home and I don't use any chemicals. But you ladies seem to have a bigger issue here, because you do your skincare routine's like an $800 routine that takes 4 hours before you go to bed, and you're making yourself sick. Throw this stuff away. These are forever chemicals, lotions, perfumes. Perfumes, guys, perfumes are so toxic. These are xenoestrogens. These mimic the hormone estrogen, and they're linked to hormone disruption, mitochondrial dysfunction, and they lead to metabolic disease, which is what cancer is. So some of you, that may be the biggest area of your life. What are you washing your clothes with? Are you using normal detergent? What are you putting in your dishwasher? Are you using commercial grade dishwasher fluid? These are all high chemical based toxins, organophosphates, organochlorines. Are you using hand sanitizers? This is ridiculous. They've got us all scared of germs that we can't even see, and they're not even warning us about all the chemical toxins that are making us sick. We're not sick because we're loaded with germs and viruses and bacteria. We're sick because we're being poisoned to death. And the poisons are the real issue, and the body's always trying to get rid of the poisons and to detoxify. Keep that in mind. This is why what you eat is important. What you put on your skin is important. The air that you breathe, the water that you drink. These are things you need to start looking at and being more conscious of. But God, I can promise you, when you're that person that's in that situation, when they have diagnosed you, it's what's it worth to have known this and started making the changes. And my heart just goes out to this lady, mother of four, bankrupt. Literally, they're telling her she's got no chance. And nobody ever sat her down 20 years ago and told her, hey, maybe the lotion that you're using has got seed oil and it's full of chemicals that are disrupting your endocrine system. Anyway, that's what I would say there. It's a long answer. It's hard to give a short answer when it comes to this type of an issue. And it's way more in depth than what we talked about. But start there. Start with the clean toothpaste. Some of you have already made those changes because you've gone through a happy, healthy, thin metabolism program. You're looking at the things going into your body, what you're putting on your skin. For those of you who have not done that, that's something to start making a change right now. The food you eat, the air you breathe, the water you drink, and the chemicals you're putting on your skin, start taking full accountability there.
Yeah. So really what I hear you saying there as well is, because they are all around us, all over the time, why don't we create an environment for our bodies where better things are more likely to happen, because you're not going to be able to avoid every single one of those things unless you're living inside a bubble. And so, you know what? Start off by having a healthy foundation. Our program, you know, with H2 Thin Virtual, if you go to h2thinvirtual.com, if you're listening to find out what in the world it is that we're talking about, go there, or go to metabolismscore.com, find out what your metabolism score is. Let's get you starting with a healthier foundation. That way, when those toxins do come into your body, and it's not a matter of if, just a matter of when they're going to come into your body has the best opportunity to be able to rid your body of those toxins as quickly as possible, and you're going to have a better shot at having healthier longevity without sickness, without illness, without disease, and we can all have a great time in Tulum together.
And many more times in Tulum and all over the world together, no doubt about it. Yeah, listen, you don't want to be fragile, and you can't stress out about things you can't control. You know, the spark is only as dangerous as the tinder that it has access to. But this is why controlling the things that you can control is being responsible with your health. It's really becoming the CEO of your own journey and not turning your health over to the government or to a pharmaceutical company or to a medical doctor who's Western trained, who's been told everything is a deficiency of drugs, chemicals, and needs surgical intervention or oral therapy the rest of your life. Stop turning your health over to anybody else. Don't turn it over to us. We're not saying do everything we say we do, you know, but you know what? I don't know. People that follow our advice seem to do pretty good, but make your own decisions. Be your best health advocate and surround your people that are on that same journey with you. I know a lot of you guys in the Happy Healthy community, you've been able to do that. It's been such an incredible thing that's happened in our life for the last several years, building this community online and having like-minded people who all are rooting for each other. That right there is a beautiful thing.
There you go. So thank you so much for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. And you know what? If you love the show, definitely let us know that you love the show. Like it. Definitely comment. If you've got feedback for us, you can always give us feedback. We love feedback. Anything that you want to hear us talk about, questions that you have, you can go to the H2 Life on Instagram and give us your questions there. If there's also someone who you'd love to see us interview on the show, let us know who that person is. And we'll make sure that we reach out to them to get them on the show. And we want to make sure that we're giving you the best information possible when it comes to you being the CEO of your journey. So thanks again for listening.
Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.